welcome back to the Social Distance Show. I know it's been a week. We had a busy week. It was we're doing a lot of work for the churches to make sure that they are able to connect with their congregations and stuff. So we took off Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday of last week so that we could focus on doing their services for them. So thank you very much. And of course, on Wednesdays now, there's no social distance show at 7, although we will have one tomorrow a little earlier. But there's no social distance show at 7 anymore on Wednesdays because that is being preempted by me producing the Lieutenant Governor's show. So if you want to ask the Lieutenant Governor a question, you can find it exactly where you're finding this. Just check that out. 7 o'clock tomorrow night. You can ask the Lieutenant Governor anything you want. But forget about all of that stuff because tonight we are going to be informed, we are going to be entertained, and we're going to have a lot of fun because I have a dear friend joining me all the way from Ontario, Canada, Sarah Magni. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, you pronounced my last name really well.
Thanks. I've been doing it for 15 years.
Yeah, no, most people still still don't have it. So,
I think it was Dave because Dave knew you first, obviously, and he has very good diction. Um, so, uh, so let me see. It's downstairs in the kitchen. Sorry, Allie needs the baby monitor. Okay, so hey everybody, thanks for seeing that. Anyway, Sarah is the artistic director and founder of Thatz Showbiz in Canada, and it's just a wonderful organization and has done so many wonderful things for the community. Are you in York? Is that the
I'm in
area?
York region, yeah, but it's just outside of Toronto.
Okay. I didn't want to put Toronto because I didn't want to be offensive if you were nowhere near Toronto. And
No, I'm
it
close.
was like
Very, very close.
I didn't want it to be somebody saying like New York to Rhode Island.
Right.
Because I don't know. I'm very ignorant when it comes to Canada. And I'm just freely admitting that. Because I am. But you started it in 2012.
I did. Wow, you've done your research.
When you moved home from New York.
Yeah, actually, I think I started it. I was coming home from New York in the summer times because the summers were unbearable in New York City. Like nobody has an air conditioning and it's just a suffocation all the time. And I was like, I don't think I want to be here for the summer. So I would come home in the summers and I would run summer programs. So kind of started in like an in-between.
Nice. Very nice, actually. And that's so we met at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy in New York. Where we both went in 2006, and you were in the musical theater program, and I was in the studio program for nothing. I was gonna say dramatic acting, but it's nothing. I mean, it was horrible. So so anyway, we met there. You were friends with Dave DeAngelis, and then you were one of the 2 people that I still talk to from AMDA. So hey, thank you.
Hey.
And we had a fun little reunion last week.
We did
on an episode of Come Waste Your Time with Dave, which was really fun. So what made you get into acting to begin with before we get into that showbiz? Because obviously you've been doing it for a long time if you were going to college for it, 14 years ago.
Yeah. I don't even remember because I feel like it's been so long, but I started singing first. I wanted to be an opera singer. So that's kind of where I began my journey. And I started taking vocal lessons. I think I was like 11 or 12. And I would go to like vocal competitions and I would sing all this opera, and like the feedback that I would get all the time was always like, you're really an actor. Like, have you ever thought about acting? Like, so it was interesting. And then I was like, oh, there's like this whole thing called musical theater. I was like, so I can still sing and then also act. And I think that's how it started.
That's true. I forgot that you were like an opera singer. I completely forgot about that because
I know, I forget about it all the time.
you're so funny, and
Okay.
because we weren't in the same class, like I think I've heard you sing like 3 times in my life.
Mhm.
Which is crazy. I mean, you've never seen me act, so
That's
we're
true.
yeah. Which is weird that we know each other from theater and we've never seen each other do anything.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah. So that was cool. You stayed in New York. It's a 2 year program,
Mhm.
or at least to start it is, and so you stayed in New York for 6 years.
Mhm.
And how was that? How was living the dream in New York City as a struggling young, fresh out of college
Oh,
actor?
the dream. I mean, I was very young, which is great. I'm glad that I was very young because I don't think I could have done it older. It was a lot of fun. I just remember having a lot of fun. But yeah, you live paycheck to paycheck. Like nobody lives like Sex and the City Friends. Like nobody lives like that. So that's not real. Um, but no, like it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. The auditioning was horrendous because it was just you'd throw a rock and you hit an actor in New York City. And so it's a lot. So there's a lot of people and you're waiting all day long to just audition and sing 16 bars. And yeah, so that was strenuous, but being there and all the people that I met along the way and that whole experience was wonderful and beautiful, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. Only if I was like 23 again though, like not like now.
I agree. I mean, I didn't stay as long as you did, but I agree. And so, what made you want to go back to your home? Essentially, your hometown. You're not. Are you exactly where you're from right now, or did you?
I'm from like York region area. Like I'm my organization is based where I'm from, but I'm living in Toronto, which is very close by. So yeah, basically, yeah,
Because you're fancy.
because I'm fancy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big fancy Sarah with her fancy job. We we uh we love to kid Sarah now about how successful she is,
Oh yeah.
um,
Mhm.
because she's super fancy and she's been
So much pressure.
on. So this is probably the most rinky dink, poor low
No,
budget interview that Sarah's ever done.
it's not.
Um, yeah. Just for the love of God, go to YouTube right now. Stop watching my show. Go to YouTube right now and type in Sarah Magni. It's right there. Sarah Magni, Thatz Showbiz. And there's going to be links coming up of like some huge shows in Canada where she's the guest on big radio shows. And
Oh gosh.
so before we get to, because there's a cool story that I talked to you about, just personally, like a year ago, was it? 2 years ago? When did the renovation happen?
Yeah, it's been about a year now, yeah, that the renovation happened. Yeah.
Um, so first, let's talk about why you started the program that you had and what that showbiz is.
So, I mean, the program has evolved. Again, another thing I started. Hi, Rubino. Another thing I started at 23 years old. So, if you start an organization at 23 years old, you're bound to just, make some mistakes because you don't know anything at 23 years old, but you're pretty sure that you do. But I started it. It was meant to be a program just for the summers. That was like an intensive program for youth who like wanted to pursue musical theater. So that's where it started. It has now become a place that we kind of flip the paradigm on who gets represented on stage and whose stories get told and by whom. And we focus mainly on people with intellectual disabilities and neurodiverse performers because they don't get their stories told often, and when they do, their stories are usually told by able-bodied neurotypical people. So they're one of like the last population where that is still happening to them, and it's really an act of violence to have your story kind of taken and appropriated by other people who have so much more privilege than you do. And yeah, it happens all the time for that community.
Absolutely. And that's I mean, how unique of an opportunity is that? Because it's the only one that I've ever heard of. So it feels really unique. How many programs like yours are there that you know of in your area or in Canada or the United States or that you've ever heard of ever? Like, are there a lot of people doing this, or are you sort of a
No,
trailblazer?
there's really not many because I decided to go to graduate school and get my master's studying theater and the lives of people with intellectual disabilities. And now it's all on hold because of all of this. But I was trying to find people that were doing the same kind of work as me, and we don't really exist. And when we find each other, it's like really exciting, and we have like phone calls and it's very, very exciting to be a part of that community. But yeah, it's hard to find, and it's very, very small community.
What's the impact of something like that? So, I mean, you're doing this wonderful thing for this underserved community, and it's meant to be empowering, and it is empowering, and it's more than that. Like I imagine it's hard to put into words. How special of an experience it is. Like literally watching a clip of like 3 minutes of it would change anyone's perspective on whatever they think about any of it. You know, about theater being entertainment only, about the capabilities of people with disabilities. And just it's so moving. So what is that experience like for you? And more importantly, what is the experience like for them?
Um, Everybody just wants to be heard and have their story told and see themselves. And I mean, we have that experience all the time. And for those of us who, have a lot of privilege, like as a white, like able-bodied person, like I do get to see myself a lot, and I have seen myself a lot. And I remember like watching like Boy Meets World and like seeing Topanga and being like, oh my God, I feel so represented. But I'm like, there's populations of people who like never see themselves and don't understand that they exist. And it's so crucial. It sounds like such a small thing, but it's like really, really not. And I think it's huge. It's huge to be seen and to have your story told. And particularly what's unique about our program that other programs don't really do is we work in devised theater. So they do create their own stories and tell their own stories, and they do direct and they put on their own productions. It's run by them. And I'm here to just hold space. That's what I'm here for.
You hold space very well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what are some of the shows? Like what are some of the, I mean, and I say that, and I feel like it's a two like I feel like it's a twofold situation. Like one, I think that I'm very interested in what the shows are about, and also with the understanding that I imagine that they're very vast and very different and cover a huge spectrum of like normal top, you know what I mean? Like it's
Mhm.
just representation isn't always about like different, it's just the direction that it's coming from.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That like you
I
can
know.
tell me to shut up at any
No,
point.
I get what you're saying. So our stories are always different. And so
Yeah.
that I think that it's interesting because, and even me, I still hold a lot of privilege, that I think we have to change the structure and understanding of how we look at theater, because disability theater is a different situation, because people with disabilities have never been invited into that space, and that space was never created or structured for them. So their theater is going to look and sound and be different, and I am just there along for the ride and to support however I can. But so I'm part of a movement and understanding that like we need to like deconstruct the definition of theater in order to make that space for people with disabilities in particular. And so the productions look different, and they have like audience participation, and they have weird things happening at all the time, and dance and this and that, and it's just a mixture of a bunch of stuff. And I love when we can challenge an audience and be like, yeah, this is theater. This is not just theater, it's disability theater, which is a whole other thing, because trying to shove people with disabilities into this westernized vision of theater that we have is unfair, and it limits their capacity and capabilities because they have something different and neurodiverse to offer.
That's really beautiful because, like, in a way, I think so. I think that what you're doing and the space that you're creating allows everyone to be more creative and everyone to express themselves in different ways. And I think that when um, people from more traditional theater backgrounds, or that are, able-bodied, or whatever, the however you want to say it, um experiencing that can then open their mind as well into a new world of possibilities,
Mm-hmm.
and be an inspiration for everyone,
Yeah.
which I think is really great. Like, I think there was just a story on Broadway.com or the New York Times or something. I don't know. It was sent to me, about how, like, the Sweeney Todd revival in 2005, where everything was like a black box with, the musicians playing their own
Yeah, I remember
instruments.
the musicians on stage. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a huge thing, and so there was only 10 people, and the musicians played their own instruments, and
Yeah.
there was no set. Like, there was no barber chair. It was like there was like a black wooden coffin, and then like a little white baby coffin,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like that was the chair that he got. Like, none of it made any sense. Tobias was in an insane asylum the whole
Yep.
time, and like you kind of thought everybody was the doctor. Like, it's very, people didn't look at each other directly on stage very often. It was all done in viewpoints, and it was so different. It was so out of the box that now you have all sorts of Broadway productions that are doing things that are different ways to tell the story.
Yeah, I
And
think they were one of the first to be like, "Oh, let's have actors play their own instruments." I'm sure that saves a lot of money too. And then,
well, that's why John Doyle did it originally, but yeah.
and then a lot of other shows were like, "That's really cool," and that started. I remember that kind of started that trend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that, but what it did was somebody was daring enough, and the reason was that they didn't have any money when he first did a show like that. Um and so somebody was daring enough to allow other people to do some things differently, and it brings in a wave that makes everything better for everyone.
yeah,
And I think that what you're doing is something that fits a need that is so underserved. So underserved that people probably didn't even think that it was a thing that needed to happen to begin
yeah,
with, which is so crazy. When you watch it, you go, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. This should always have been a thing. There should be a million ceremonies. There should. And so I think that watching that is going to, and the more that you are able to grow this, and the more that other people are able to see the example that not just you, but everyone that is performing and writing and directing, and they are doing, the work that they are doing, when other people see that more and more, it's going to lead to more opportunities and affect more lives, and it will affect lives indirectly as much as it will directly. So I think it's amazing, and I think if anybody is questioning what we're talking about, go to that'sshowbiz.com, or like I said, just YouTube ceremony That's Showbiz, and you can watch the videos. So tell us a little bit about the thing that I talked about at the beginning, which was the sort of TV show makeover that you guys got.
Yeah, so in Toronto, one of the big like morning show hosts, her name is Marilyn Dennis. They approached me and they were like, "Oh, do you need like a room or anything made over?" And at this point, we were moving into a whole new studio and we were already in debt. And our studio was not even, it was nothing yet. We hadn't even like knocked down walls that need to be knocked down. And I was like, yeah, yes, we do. We're moving into a new place and that would be great. They had just heard about what we do and it with the producer actually, and she was like, I just like really love what you do. And it was through another organization called Wheel Dance that we kind of collaborate with sometimes, which are dancers who use wheelchairs. They're an amazing organization too, if anyone want to look them up. Yeah, and they were like, we heard about you through Wheel Dance and they talk so highly about you and what you're doing is sounds really, really cool. And then they're like, we might want to make over your space, but it wasn't like for sure. They had to come and measure it and do all these things. And they're like, this space is not as done as we would like it to be. And they're like, how fast can you like break down the walls and like put some primer on? We had nothing. It was, and so we had all these volunteers come in and like fix up the space enough for Marilyn Dennis to even accept us. So like much appreciation to everybody who volunteers at Thatz Showbiz. Like there's a whole team of people that are behind me, and then Sarah Magni gets to stand in the front and like take all the credit, but it's not just me, and I try to mention that as much as I can. Yeah, and then they came and they renovated it, and it was the first episode of their 10th season, so it was like this huge thing. And they brought on this other famous guy named Mike Holmes Jr. who renovates stuff. Yeah, that's a clip from it. And he came on and did it, and I didn't even know who he was, and I was very embarrassed because they're like, "Look, this is Mike." And I was like, "Oh, nice to meet you." It was the whole thing. But then I realized that he was a really famous and really amazing renovator person. Yeah, this is the clip. So yeah, they did that for us. It was a shock. I never cried so much in my life. We've been doing this for 8 years, so this is like a huge. It was a huge thing. I still am speechless. I can't. I look at it and I'm like, I don't know what to say.
What did everybody that so your performers and your actors and everybody in the program, and I don't want to say actors because they're writers and directors and everything, so the members of the program, what did they think of the space and being recognized like that?
They loved it. They did. It's so funny because it's such an adjustment because you're like, but what about the other space? So it's like, I was like, yes, I know, but we're here now and they've given us this gift and they're like, this is really, really cool. And obviously like being on TV, that is always fun. So that was exciting.
That was so cool. I couldn't believe when I think that I didn't see it when you like posted it or shared it or whatever. I just I think I really just YouTubed your name one day and
Okay.
saw it and was like, "Oh man," cuz every once in a while I'm like, what the hell is Sarah up to?" Cuz you're amazing.
Shenanigans all the time.
Right. And like so I started a children's theater, which is in 2013, which we thought was cool like 7 years ago. And Theater Scrapbook is wonderful. I do not run it anymore. It's fully run by Dave's sister Antonella, who does a fantastic job, and it's a wonderful children's theater that does amazing things for the community here in Westerly, Rhode Island and beyond. But it's a good children's theater. It's a good children's theater. It's not a transformational organization.
I think you sell it short though, because I think theater and the arts is transformational.
I
And
agree. I was just gonna
for
say,
me, as a young person, like
yeah.
I'm weird. I have a lot of things going on. I needed theater. I don't know where I would be without it.
I don't know where you would be without it either, but I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that I know you. So I really appreciate that. I was gonna say that you're my first international guest,
Ooh,
but
how
you're
good
not. But
is
you're not.
oh.
You're not. Because I had two. Oh, actually, one's here. Richard Robbins. Hey. I had two. Of psycho. No, not a psychotherapist. I don't know what she is. She's a psychiatrist. She's been a client for over a year of mine, so I should know what her actual title is. She's a doctor of something. And Richard Robbins, who's also I believe a social worker, and they were talking about children, how to handle the pandemic with children.
Yeah.
And they're both from Ottawa. Uh, yeah. So you're not the first international
And not
guest.
even the first Canadian guest.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Neither of those things.
No. So you're not special at all, except for
No, not at
everything that
all.
we talked about for the first 26 minutes. Um, and so really quickly, how are you handling the pandemic? And then we're gonna end with something special in 2 minutes.
Yes. You know, me personally, I have time, I have space to like meditate and do yoga and stuff like that. It's been great. Transitioning everybody in all my programs to online has been a big new challenge. So we'll see how it goes. We have a workshop on Friday. Anyone in the world can join, any neurodiverse and performers with intellectual disabilities. Yeah, it's on Eventbrite.
Oh, that's amazing. Can you send me a link and I'll post it in the description of the show?
Yeah, I will.
Awesome. I don't know. Hopefully, we'll get some people interested. I think that that's a cool opportunity. That now that you are forced to do things online, you might be able to reach um, an even larger group of participants, and then change some more lives, and then grow a new part of this organization online. I think that the possibilities are endless for you because you're amazing. And speaking of you being amazing, you organize slash lead something every night at 7:30. So please take
Yeah,
it away.
I hope
Please,
it happens
please,
tonight because
please
now
take
the
it away.
pressure. All right, so we're going to cheer for our frontline workers, me and everybody in my building. Hopefully, I can switch you on to the other side, of the camera here. Rear camera. These are everybody in my building. Is anybody out yet? I don't know.
Is it snowing? I just assume it would be because it's Canada.
It was snowing actually. It's not anymore. Embarrassingly enough. This is my courtyard of my building. Oh, it's 7:30.
It's beautiful.
Time to cheer for your frontline workers! Thank you, 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 frontline workers. Thank you, frontline workers. Thank you, frontline workers. Woo! Thank you. Thank you, frontline workers. Woo! Thank you. Every night at 7:30. Woo!
Sarah, you are amazing.
I didn't know you would still be there. Wow, thank you for staying for that. It lasts about 4 minutes every night, so we've made it to 4-minute mark, I think.
I love it. Thank you so much. And I know that you have a high school reunion to get ready for.
You know, this is a whole thing, just bringing out everybody out of the woodwork. It's great.
I love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. You're just amazing, and I love talking to you. And
Yes, we have to talk more often, not just in pandemics and disaster crises.
I know, right? Where is the? Hold on, I'm trying to go into the "Come Waste Your Time" banners because I'm trying to find the banners. I made a bunch of lower thirds that were jokes about you. Shakespeare.
Oh yeah, I remember that. This is Shakespeare. Yeah.
That's not it. That's not it.
The lady feed the tiger to her husband. She absolutely did. We all know this.
Oh yeah, this was my escape plan. Sarah, will you marry me?
Your escape plans. Well, you can't escape now. Nobody's moving.
I know. So, all right. Thank you so much, guys. Seriously, check out that showbiz.com and check out that showbiz on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah,
and
I'll send you the
where
link
else?
to that workshop that we're having on Friday. So anyone can join us at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But wherever you are, join us. If you're a neurodiverse or a performer or performer with intellectual disabilities, we want to have you there.
Awesome. You're an amazing person. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Amazing person, Ben. This is so cool.
I know. I love it. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for watching. Social Distance Show will be back tomorrow at some time, not 7 o'clock, because the Lieutenant Governor will be on at 7 o'clock. Produced by me. And stay tuned because at 8 o'clock tonight, Caswell Cook is on with a brand new Caswell Cook show. We're back after an Easter break. Our family didn't know what we looked like anymore, but now they do. And this is awesome. I'm not going to explain it, but this is really cool. Good night. Thank you. Welcome back. Sarah's amazing. Check out that showbiz. I love you all. Hope you had a good Easter.